High ahead of the possible announcement of President Jacob Zuma's recall by the ANC as head of state. The party's National Executive Committee is meeting at this moment in iIrene, just outside Pretoria, to decide on President Zuma's fate. That meeting started at 2 o'clock, or it is supposed to be starting now at 2 o'clock. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa held a preliminary meeting with senior party leaders before the NEC gathered in iIrene. Ramaphosa has said that the NEC meeting currently underway will bring finality to the matter of President Zuma. Meanwhile, the much-anticipated Zuma Must Go march to the Union buildings has been postponed. The organisers say they were advised by the ANC NEC to postpone the march while awaiting the outcome of today's NEC meeting. The aim of the march was to add to the pressure for the president to leave office. And those visuals you're seeing of those motorcades coming into iIrene, we saw just a short while ago of officials of the NEC arriving for that meeting in iIrene. Let's go now to iIrene. Our reporter Nthakoana Ngatane joins us live from Pretoria. Nthakoana, good afternoon to you once again. So this meeting now underway, and certainly there must be some kind of groundwork that the NEC members can work with, especially after ANC President Ramaphosa was in various meetings with with the state President Zuma. Just talk to us about the significance of this meeting and some of the likely scenarios or outcomes of this meeting.
Well, Natasha, let me start by saying in the last hour we have seen more and more people arrive here. We've seen number plates from Mpumalanga, Northwest, Gauteng, all over the country, really signaling that all the members of the NEC from around the country will be attending this meeting. We know for a fact that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa and President of the ANC arrived here earlier today. We saw the Speaker of Parliament, Baleka Mbete, but we also saw Jackson Mthembu arrive. These are just some of the people that we saw arriving here. But as you say, the meeting is expected to get underway at 2 o'clock. And in terms of its significance, I can just say that you know that the NEC is the highest decision-making body of the ANC. In between conferences, this 86-member body that will sit here today is expected to make that much-awaited decision, not just by South Africans, but I think the world over, judging by the amount of colleagues from around the world who are here looking at what is happening. And we've seen the story make headlines around the world in terms of expectation from this meeting of the NEC. So, yes, a lot of expectation indeed. Natasha.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, this is the highest decision-making body of the NEC. Give us some kind of idea as to what kind of support Cyril Ramaphosa has going into this meeting. So sort of the dynamics of the NEC, what kind of power they have to sort of enforce a decision should President Zuma reject what they have to say.
Well, we know that, as I've said, this is an 86-member body. Top 6 sit on that NEC, but also 80 other members from around the country elected at the National Conference in December. Now, this is also made up of the presidents and secretary generals of the other bodies, being the Youth League, the Women's League, and the Veterans League. So this is a body that will then, depending on where the numbers go in terms of what they decide, will then say whether or not President Zuma should step down. But remember, we've said that also it depends on whether or not the president will agree to step down. And therefore, if that doesn't happen, it would mean that this will then have to go forward to Parliament. But the constitution of the ANC has a clause that says that this NEC has the power to recall or appoint public officials. So we expect that that's where they draw this mandate to have this meeting today regarding President Jacob Zuma. But other analysts say that that is not enough, that even if this body has decided to recall the president particularly, the president has the prerogative of whether or not to resign. So we will have to then wait to see if the decision that comes out of here he accepts, and if he indeed resigns, if the NEC decides so. And if he doesn't resign, does the processes of parliament, including impeachment or a motion of no confidence, then kick into play. But remember, that motion of no confidence is the power play of the opposition. And the question is, will the ANC then decide today to let the opposition then take control of this process or not? All of these issues are now at play, and this is what the NEC will then have to decide depending on today. Natasha.
Yeah, you make a very good point about putting the ball in the opposition's court. But in terms of negotiating power, does President Zuma, going into these talks, have any negotiating power?
Well, this is the issue again that is being questioned, particularly by the opposition, now asking if this particular party or even the NEC has the power to decide any conditionalities for President Zuma to resign. Lawyers even coming into play to say they want to join and support those who want President Zuma to step down, because they believe that constitutionally the ANC does not have the power to give President Zuma any conditionalities, whether it's amnesty or whether it's immunity from prosecution or any of the ones that we hear are being discussed. If it is true, any of those, the ANC does not have any power, say the lawyers. So all of this and the power of the president at this point in time are being tested here today, and the outcome is the ultimate test and will tell us where the winds will blow. Natasha.
All right, Nthakoana, thanks so much for now. We'll leave it there, but I imagine you won't be going anywhere. You'll be staying right where you are to bring us more on some of those developments from that crucial NEC meeting. Nthakoana, thanks so much for that. Nthakoana Ngatane live from iIrene. Well,